Hello everyone and welcome back. Now, the World Cup. It's the planet's biggest sporting event, a month-long festival of joy, despair and grown men theatrically clutching their shins as if they've been sniped from the stands. And in 2026, it's coming to North America, a united bid between the US, Canada and Mexico. It's a beautiful vision, isn't it? A continent coming together, celebrating unity through football, or as we call it here, soccer, because we just had to be different, didn't we? It's like calling a fork a food stabby thing. But behind this grand vision of continental harmony lies a potentially massive, headache-inducing problem: travel. Specifically, the logistical nightmare of moving millions of fans, thousands of players, and mountains of equipment across not one, but two international borders. This isn't just about getting from New York to Los Angeles. It's about getting from Vancouver to Guadalajara, from Toronto to Dallas. The current state of North American travel, with its long queues, visa complexities, and general airport misery, looks less like a welcoming committee and more like a cruel, bureaucratic obstacle course. So tonight, let's talk about the 2026 World Cup. Let's look past the slick promotional videos and the promises of a seamless tripartite celebration. Let's dive into how the very real, very frustrating reality of modern travel could threaten to turn this dream tournament into a logistical train wreck. Because if we are not careful, the only thing united about this World Cup will be the shared experience of being stuck in an airport terminal for 9 hours, desperately trying to find a working power outlet. It's a massive undertaking, and the cracks are already starting to show. Let's start with the most important people, the fans. The lifeblood of any World Cup is the vibrant, noisy, face-painted sea of humanity that fills the stadiums. They bring the atmosphere, the passion, and crucially for the host cities, their wallets. The whole economic model of hosting an event like this hinges on hundreds of thousands of people flying in, booking hotels, eating at restaurants, and buying a frankly absurd number of novelty scarves. The expectation is that fans will follow their teams, creating a traveling carnival of commerce from city to city, country to country. But what happens when that journey becomes a Herculean task? Imagine you're a fan from Mexico. Your team plays its first game in Mexico City. Fantastic! But their next match is in Vancouver. Suddenly, you're not just booking a flight, you're navigating visa applications, bracing for multi-hour border waits, and dealing with different currencies and entry requirements. It's a massive deterrent. The friction of crossing these borders could easily convince thousands of fans to just stay home and watch from the pub, which, while great for their local bartender, is a disaster for businesses in the host cities that were promised a tourism gold rush. This isn't just speculation. We see it every day. The queues at land borders, the backlogs for visa appointments, the sheer cost and hassle of international travel. Now multiply that by the scale of a World Cup. The result could be half-empty sections in stadiums, particularly for matches between smaller nations. Local businesses, from the massive hotel chains to the humble hot dog vendor outside the stadium, would see their projected revenues evaporate. The promised economic boom could become a disappointing whimper, all because the simple act of getting from point A to point B was made prohibitively difficult. Now, if it's going to be a nightmare for fans, imagine what it will be like for the teams themselves. These are finely tuned machines operating on razor-thin schedules. Everything is planned to the minute: training sessions, media appearances, recovery periods, and, the actual games. Their entire performance depends on a predictable, stress-free environment. And nothing introduces stress quite like your chartered plane being delayed for 6 hours due to a minor customs issue, or your bus full of multi-million-dollar athletes being stuck in a 3-mile-long queue at the border. Think about the sheer volume of stuff that has to move with a team. It's not just 23 players and a coach. It's medical staff, physiotherapists, nutritionists, security details, media liaisons, and a mountain of equipment. We're talking training gear, medical supplies, high-tech analysis laptops, and probably a few thousand pounds of carefully prepared athlete-specific chicken breast. Each border crossing is a potential point of failure. A single piece of paperwork missing for a medical device could hold up the entire operation, throwing the team's preparation into chaos. And it's not just the teams, it's the global media contingent, the referees, the FIFA officials themselves. The entire tournament apparatus needs to be mobile. A delayed broadcast truck could mean a match isn't aired in a key market. A refereeing team arriving late could jeopardize the integrity of a game. The security coordination between 3 different countries is already a monumental task. Adding unpredictable travel delays on top of that is a recipe for disaster. The smooth functioning of the World Cup depends on a level of logistical precision that our current border infrastructure seems almost designed to undermine. Host cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and the 11 US locations didn't sign up for this just for the love of the game. They signed up because they were promised a massive economic windfall. They were sold a vision of streets teeming with international tourists, hotels booked solid for a month, and global brands plastering their logos on every available surface. They've invested millions, sometimes billions, in stadium upgrades, public transport, and infrastructure, all based on a set of very optimistic economic projections. Projections that are fundamentally tied to the free and easy movement of people. If travel becomes a significant barrier, that entire economic equation falls apart. The expected tourism dollars simply won't materialize to the same degree. A Japanese fan might come for a game in Los Angeles, but decide the hassle of flying to Toronto for the next one isn't worth it. That's a lost hotel booking, lost restaurant meals, and lost souvenir sales in Canada. Sponsorship activations which rely on creating buzz and engaging with large crowds become far less effective if those crowds are smaller and less diverse than anticipated. The return on investment for these cities could plummet. The risk here is a classic host city hangover, but on a continental scale. Cities could be left with expensive, underutilized infrastructure and a significant budget deficit. The promised legacy of economic growth and global exposure could be replaced by a legacy of debt and disappointment. The local taxpayers, who ultimately foot the bill for these grand projects, would be left wondering what happened to the promised boom. The answer could be simple. It got stuck at the border, filling out a customs declaration form in triplicate. Perhaps the biggest casualty of these travel woes wouldn't be economic, but symbolic. The entire premise of this World Cup, the core of its winning bid, was the idea of united. It was a powerful message, especially in a time of political division. 3 nations, putting aside their differences to host the world's game. It was meant to be a showcase of North American cooperation, a testament to what we can achieve when we work together, a shining example of continental unity. But what kind of unity is it when the very borders between the united hosts are the biggest source of frustration and division for the tournament? It completely undermines the central theme. Instead of a seamless experience, fans and media would be confronted with the stark reality of 3 very separate countries with 3 very different sets of rules. The narrative would shift from "look how well they're working together" to "why is it so ridiculously hard to get from Seattle to Vancouver?" It makes the whole United branding look like a hollow marketing slogan. This damages the global perception of not just the tournament, but of North America as a whole. It sends a message of dysfunction, not unity. It says we can talk a good game about cooperation, but when it comes to the practicalities, we can't even manage a queue efficiently. FIFA's brand would take a hit for awarding the tournament to a bid that couldn't deliver on its core promise. And for the host nations, an event that was supposed to be a moment of collective pride could become a bit of an international embarrassment, defined by friction, frustration, and failure. Okay, so it all sounds a bit dire, but it doesn't have to be this way. We are talking about a problem that is, at its core, man-made, and that means it can be unmade, or at least mitigated. The key is for the governments of all 3 countries to recognize this isn't just a travel issue, it's a fundamental threat to the success of the World Cup. They need to start planning now with a level of seriousness and cooperation that, frankly, we don't often see. It's time to move beyond pleasantries and into practical solutions. One of the most obvious ideas is to create special World Cup corridors. Think of dedicated lanes at border crossings and dedicated check-in lines at airports specifically for ticket holders. This would require significant coordination, but would immediately ease the biggest bottlenecks. Another solution is a simplified, unified visa system for the duration of the tournament. Imagine a single short-term World Cup visa that grants entry to all 3 countries. It would eliminate redundant paperwork and streamline the process for international visitors, making the entire continent feel like a single destination. Beyond that, we need a massive increase in transport capacity. This means encouraging airlines to add extra flights between host cities, and maybe even running special cross-border charter trains. And finally, there needs to be a clear, coordinated public messaging campaign. Tell people exactly what documents they need. Give them realistic estimates for travel time. Build traveler confidence by showing them that you have a plan. It's not rocket science, but it does require political will and a genuine commitment to that united idea. The clock is ticking, and it's time to get to work. So, there you have it. The 2026 World Cup is poised to be either a groundbreaking celebration of continental unity or a cautionary tale of logistical failure. The difference will come down to how seriously the US, Canada, and Mexico take the challenge of their own borders. The stadiums will be ready, the players will show up, and the world will be watching. But if fans can't get to the games, if teams are delayed, and if the experience is defined by queues and complications, then the entire project is at risk. It's a massive unforced error waiting to happen. This isn't just about football. It's a test of whether North America can deliver on a complex international promise. It's a chance to prove that the United slogan is more than just clever branding. The solutions are there. Special travel lanes, simplified visas, better transport links. They require effort, investment, and above all, a level of trilateral cooperation that rises above the usual political squabbling. The success of this tournament rests not just on the shoulders of the players, but on the pens of the bureaucrats and the political will of the leaders. Ultimately, we all want this to be a spectacular success. A World Cup on home soil is a once-in-a-generation event, but a great party requires that the guests can actually get through the front door. Let's hope that in 2026, the only drama is on the pitch and not at the passport control desk, because nothing would be more disappointing than a beautiful game being ruined by ugly logistics. Thanks for watching. Good night.